Morning everyone, this is Simon Meadows from Sterling Business Coaching and welcome to today's webinar where we're going to walk through the 3 most important steps that we believe will increase your profits, and we'll show you an equation of how you can use these steps to increase your profits by 68%. We've got a few of you just arriving, so we're going to go through some housekeeping first and just make sure that everything's running okay. So let's get everything moving here. So for those of you who have already arrived, if you can just let me know that you can see me and hear me. So first of all, let's see if you can hear me. If you can put your hand up, those of you who have been on GoToWebinar will be aware of the control panel and the little hand. Those of you who haven't, some already popping up, you'll see a little hand at the side of the control panel. Put that up and that just shows me that you either want my attention or that you're answering my call to put your hand up. So lots of hands going up there, so you can all hear me okay. Great. Just to check that you can see me, you should be seeing a slide now on the screen which is headed up before we get started, and there's a little clock at the bottom, stopwatch saying time for action. So again, if you can just put your hands up, I'm just going to put some of them down just to make sure I don't duplicate these. So if you can just put them up again just to see that you can actually have the screen in front of you. It says before we get started at the top, so hands going up for that again. Lovely, thanks so much. Don't worry about putting the hands down, guys, I can do that for my control panel, so that's fine. We are going to be online for between an hour and a half, depends how many questions we get and how interactive we are. But what I want you to do during this hour and a half is make sure you've got all your distractions turned off. So any phones, anything that might bleep at you, your emails that might pop up, I want you to focus and really concentrate on the content that we're going to be going through. So if you've got any distractions, any email programs, now's the time to turn those off. Don't just minimize them so that you can see them at the bottom of your computer. Actually turn them off so they're totally away from distracting you from this. Next thing is grab a drink, or if you've already got a drink, get a top up, get some water, get some juice. We're going to be on the line for about an hour, so it's well worth being hydrated, and a couple of times I'm going to stop and ask people to either talk or type things in, and that'll be my chance to grab a drink. So I do like to walk through what I preach. We're also going to be going through a lot of pictorial slides, so it's important that you make some notes. So grab a pen and paper, because without that I am going to send the slides out afterwards, but if you just see the icons and the pictures on the slides, they might not mean anything to you. So it's important that as you go through, make some notes, and any blinding flashes of the obvious, any tips, anything that I ask you to write down, grab a pen and paper so that we can do that. This webinar isn't just about me talking. I do want you all to participate, and we're going to do that in 2 ways. There is a questions box on your control panel. We're going to use that to communicate with each other. So if you lose sound, or I ask you to tell me what's been most valuable so far, I want you to type that in the question box. Please don't use a chat box, that's quite difficult for me to monitor. So use the question box to communicate with me. And the other thing that we might do if we get some good interaction is take a couple of you off of mute so that you can actually talk to the rest of us. So if there's something that's been of real interest, or there's a lesson that you've learnt, or there's something that you want to share, please make sure that you do that. The one thing I would say is that this session is going to be recorded. So if there's something that's confidential and private, just be a little bit aware that this is probably going to be on our members site and perhaps sent out to some of you at some future occasion. So please bear that in mind when you're sharing things with us. Just move on to the next slide if I can. Okay, so I'm just going to hit the record button now. We've got through the housekeeping. There's a few of us still to come on board, so we'll go through the general introductions now, if that's okay. Okay, so at the very least today, what I want you to take away are some tools and techniques that will allow you to go through these 3 steps, these 3 strategies of gaining more leads, converting more of those leads to sales, and increasing the amount of money that people spend with you, ultimately making you more profit. Yeah. Profit is not a dirty word. Profit is needed to make a business survive. So it's important that we look at these 3 strategies and focus on using them to actually make more profit. So I always like to give people a bonus for attending, and the bonus today is going to be an actual ebook version of my hardback book, which has been published recently, The 12 Secrets That Successful Business Owners Know, which marketing agencies and coaches aren't allowed to tell you. And we're going to send you a free copy of that after this. Those of you who have attended, if you've watched the recording, you'll also get a copy of this. But this book is 12 chapters that talk through the things that I felt in my business life that people just were holding back on. I had lots of consultants give me some great advice, some great tips, but it always seemed to be holding back. I don't know whether it was a mystique or whether it was just part of their strategy, but this book is actually explaining the full version of each of the 12 steps that successful business owners know. So it's not holding anything back, it's giving you full content. So we'll get you over an ebook version of that. A little bit about me and Sterling. We coach SMEs using real SME experience. We've been in business ourselves. I've been in business for over 20 years, running a construction company I was the UK's first importer of Canadian hot tubs. We're very, very focused on success and higher profits, to the point where we even guarantee that through our one-to-one coaching programs. They're a powerful guarantee, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. We do have programs to suit everyone, so we have items such as this, which are free, up to our high-end one-to-one coaching programs that some of you might be interested in. A couple of specialisms that we have are construction. I've been in the construction industry all my working life. Technology, and we do a lot of work with the financial sectors, in particular a couple of financial practices, one being the St James's Place. Very passionate about living life and self-growth, and this webinar is not just about us being passionate about self-growth, it's helping you be passionate about your own growth as well, and you'll see that self-growth and that thriving for knowledge come out in some of the later parts of the presentation. So we have what we call the 5 Steps to Freedom coaching system, and this is about where a business is in working from the creation in step 1 all the way to freedom, which is all about having choice. And what we're going to concentrate on today are the steps that take you through those first few sections of this formula. So it's looking at the creation, the disorder, where you're investing, you're driving and growing, which is one of the most difficult places in business to be, and then looking at the control, how you organize, measure and adjust. So they're the 3 parts that we're going to dabble into a little bit this morning. One thing I want to share with you, which I think is really important just to reiterate, and I know some of you have been on this webinar in the past and also heard us talk through this, but in all my years in business and working with hundreds of businesses over the last 5 years, our coaching system is based upon 3 really important factors that you need in a business. And you need to plan where you're going to have your time, and whether that be exiting the business, whether that be having a business that partly runs without you, or having a business that is a lifestyle business. But the first things you've got to get are the money items. You need to have the money so that you can build a good team, and a team isn't just staff. You might think, well, I'm a sole trader, I'll never have a team. But team includes your accountant, it includes your business manager at the bank, it includes your business advisors, your coaches. It's anybody who is going along on the success journey with you. And if you've got the money, you've got the team, then you can start releasing the time for the business. Many of us seem to start in business with the focus on the time, and we start doing the time actions before we get the money. and the team. So I just wanted to share that with you, that's really important that you get those in that sequence: money, team, time. Okay, so we have at Sterling our 5 steps profit equation. We talk about this in the e-learning academy that we have, sterlingmarketingacademy.com, and in all the sort of processes we go through, because we passionately believe that you cannot affect the net profit that you make in your business directly, but what you can affect are the leads that are generated, your conversion rate, which will obviously give you a number of customers. You can then have an influence on the amount that they spend with you, your margins by becoming more effective, more efficient at what you do, and you can control your fixed costs. So if you can control, influence and monitor those 5 things in your business, and if you haven't got KPIs, key performance indicators, in your business, then you need at least these 5: leads, conversion rate, revenue per customer, margin and fixed cost. That will govern your profit, and I'll show you right at the end how a 10% change in these 5 can make a difference, and how a more significant change in the top 3, which is what we're going to talk about today, can make the same difference, a 68% difference in profits. So we're going to cover the first 3 today: leads generated, conversion rate and revenue per customer, but it is part of that 5-part formula. So what we're going to cover today, we're very briefly going to talk about the importance of mindset in a successful business, and hopefully that will set you up for the rest of the webinar that you're going to be on today. We're going to look at how you can increase the quantity and quality of the leads that are coming into your business, and then how you can improve the conversion rate of those leads into actual business. Now, there's lots of conversion rates that you can have. You can have conversion rates from leads to sales, from appointments to sales, from proposals to sales. But when we're talking about conversion rates this morning, we're purely talking about the conversion rate from an actual lead, somebody who declares an interest in your product, to actual business done, actual sale, money spent with you. And then finally, looking at how we can get customers to spend more with us. And there's going to be a little bit of homework at the end for you to do. It would be very remiss of me if you were to do the webinar, take a few notes away from it, but not actually have anything of value. So I want you to take some real good value away today, not only with the bonus of the book, not only perhaps some interest in the programs that we have to offer, but a little bit of homework for you to have a look at. Okay, so thinking about the mindset, this is a formula that I came up with for a boot camp that we did earlier this year. And success, I believe, is made up of determination and persistence and consistent action. We get lots of people who are determined and they take some action, but the action isn't consistent. Tony Robbins would say that you need to take massive action as well, and that's very true. But at the very least, success needs determination and persistence and consistent action. And I'm going to show you a bit of an example of a game of golf. Okay, this was explained to me in a seminar that I was on, an online seminar, so a webinar I suppose, with a guy called Rowan Dredge from Australia, who's a good friend of mine. And he walked us through this game of golf, and I'm going to walk you through it now because it's really important to have a look at 3 particular stages on this. So let's just have a look at this. So we're going to play a game of golf, and each hole we're going to have a wager, a bet. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by saying to you, we're going to play an 18-hole game of golf, and I'm going to wager you, I'm going to bet you 10 pence on each hole that I'll win. Okay, just 10 pence. Sorry for those of you who might be working in euros or in dollars that are on the webinar. I know we've got a few from different parts of the world on this morning, but today we're going to talk in pounds, so bear with us on that. So we're going to play each hole for 10 pence. But let's make it a little bit interesting. Let's make the bet, let's double it on every hole. Okay, so we're just going to make that persistence, that determination, and add that to that constant action. So we're going to play the 18 holes, but let's make it a little bit more interesting and double it. So hole number 1 would be 10 pence, hole number 2 20 pence, and so on. So as you can see, as I'm flicking through here, the numbers are doubling. Okay, so by the time we get to hole number 9, we've gone from 10 pence to £25.60. Okay, so we're going to move on by hole 9, and hopefully these figures will start making some sense. This is called compounding, by the way, for any financial people that are on here. Hole 10, £51.20. Just going to keep flicking through here to the point where we get to hole 15. Now this is important because many of us will want to take some action, but we don't take it right now. So we always think we'll do that tomorrow. We make New Year's resolutions on New Year's Eve, and then we don't do anything about it. We'll do it next week. And guess what? If we do start it next week, we've missed the first 3 holes. So if you only ever play 15 holes because you've missed the first 3, you're only going to get £1,638, which is a substantial amount of money. But the real successful businesses are the ones that push through that little bit more, and they carry on, and they start immediately. They take massive action immediately when they're part of something like this, and they play the next 3 holes. They play all 18 holes, and you'll see the effect of compounding. Hole 18 is a massive £13,107. So we've gone from 10 pence to £13,000 just on hole 18. Okay. Now the whole game of golf, you can see there, is a totally different kettle of fish. If you'd have won all 18 holes, you'd be a very wealthy person. But I just want to focus on 3 areas. Many businesses only play the first 9 holes. Okay, we put some effort in, we put some energy into what we're doing, and we start seeing some results, but the results just don't seem to be big enough. 10 pence to 20 pence. So is 20 pence really enough? We get to hole 9 and we think we've done all this. 9 holes, we've played half the game, and we've only got to £25.60. So we think, tell you what, we get attracted by something new and shiny, or we decide that this just isn't the way to go, and we go back and we play a different round of golf. So we start back at hole 1 at 10 pence. And probably 95% of businesses that I come across, and hopefully you're not one of them on this is why I'm sharing this with you, only ever play the 9 holes, and they keep playing 9 holes, 9 holes, 9 holes, and they only ever get to £25.60. Because all they can see is that hole 10 is worth £51.20. Now, the rest of the businesses are split into 2 categories. What I call successful businesses, who play the 15 holes. So they procrastinate. They want to make a decision, but their self-doubt, their mindset holds them back. They decide not to take immediate action. What if? What if it doesn't work? What if we don't get the results? So they procrastinate, they don't play the first 3 or 4 holes, and then they never play the full round. So they only ever play 15 holes, and if you only ever play 15 holes, you're only going to get £1,638. Now that's a massive difference from 10 pence. So it makes you successful. And a lot of people, when they get to that point, think, that's it, I'm successful, it's good enough. But it's the last 3 holes, it's that last bit of persistence and consistent action that makes the biggest difference. Now you might ask, somebody asked me this on one of my webinars quite a while ago, well, what about the Richard Bransons of this world, the Duncan Ballantines, the Alan Sugars, the Bill Gates, the Google guys, how come they are so massively more successful? And my answer to that is, when they play 18 holes, the next thing they say is, let's play another game. And they play another 18 holes. So they go to hole 19, hole 20, etc. So hopefully that shows that you've got to put the effort in, you've got to be determined, you've got to be persistent, you've got to push through that 9 holes. And if you get to hole 15, make sure you start it as soon as you can. Make sure you've got the opportunity of playing all 18 holes. Okay, so I'm going to move on from that. I spent quite a bit of time on that, but it's really important to get that mindset of pushing through and taking immediate action so that you can get the success. And hopefully that illustrates that quite clearly there. Just flick through the next bits of my slide. So strategy 1, step 1, bringing in more leads. So this is about getting more people walking through your door if you're a retailer, more people picking up the phone and calling you, or more people visiting your website. So a lot of us that are on the call might go to do networking. It's about getting people to speak with you, to meet with you, to visit your website, to purchase a product, whatever it is. It's about bringing in more leads. And my definition of a lead for this webinar is a person who expresses an interest in buying your product. This is not about buying a database from the Chamber of Commerce of 500 people and saying I now have 500 leads. If they've not expressed an interest in buying your product by saying yes, I'm happy to speak with you, please give me a call, yes, I want to meet up, give me a proposal, if they've not expressed that interest, then it's not a lead. Okay, so that's my definition for that. You might have your own definitions and there are lots out there, but that's my definition for the purpose of this webinar. So you want people to walk through the door, pick up the phone, or visit the website. One of the tools that we use in all our coaching programs, and I've used for the last probably 15 years, is something called a tactical marketing plan. And it's really important, and obviously these are just some of the summaries of what we work through in our programs, but what I want to show you is the most important ones. And I believe this is a really important thing to work through, because a lot of us do activities, we go networking, we send out emails, and we don't even measure how they work. So we haven't got a clue where our leads are coming from. And I know a couple of times I hear people say, companies know that half their marketing is working, they just wanted to know which half, because they don't know. So the first thing to do here is to measure your actual leads, where they're coming from. So this is a very simple spreadsheet, and I suggest you get your pen and paper out now and just do a bit of a sketch of this. So we have the tactics on the left hand side, and we have tactics such as networking, so that might be Chamber of Commerce, BNI, it could be any other kind of page you go networking. It can be bold walking, so actually door knocking, going in. If you're selling a publication, you might go knocking on retailers' doors. Would you like to buy the publication, would you like to hold it, that sort of thing. So it's door knocking. Targeted direct mail, and I say targeted because this isn't a scattergun approach. This is sending it out to a particular geographical area, or to a particular industrial park if you're targeting businesses, etc., or a particular business sector. E-marketing, we all know that. You've received lots of emails from me, that's why you're on the webinar in the first place. So sending out email sequences. Telemarketing, either doing it yourself or outsourcing it. Referrals from existing clients. So this is about listing down your tactics. So what I want you to do in the next 30 seconds or so, I want you to write down the tactics that you're currently using to bring in your leads. Now, you're all virtually out there in different parts of the country, different parts of the world, so I want to trust that you're going to do this. So grab a piece of paper, grab a pen or a pencil, and I want you to, across the top of the paper, just write tactical marketing plan, tactics on the left hand side, and then I want you to write down at least 4 or 5 tactics that you're using now to bring in leads into your business. And while you do that, I'm just going to grab a sip of water. So just write down 4 or 5 tactics that you're currently using. So do you use networking? Do you use telemarketing? Okay, so just write a few down. And then what I want you to do, as you've written this list down, I want you to circle the one that you think is working better for you. Okay, so I want you to circle the one that is working the best for you, and I want you now, this is where you start becoming a bit interactive, I want you in the questions box on your control panel to type in the tactic for getting leads that's working best for you. So just type it into the questions box and I'll be able to see what you're putting in there and what's important, because I will focus a little bit more on those as we go through the webinar, because this is about working it around what your needs are. So please, in the questions box, type in the lead generation tactic that for you works the best. Don't be shy. Strategic partners, Rachel, thank you for that. And the rest of you, don't be shy. So strategic partners, Google advertising, great. BNI, yeah, hardly surprised whether you love it or hate it. It's a bit of a marmite sometimes. It does certainly generate some leads. So networking, yes. For me, email marketing is by far the best, and of course one thing that isn't on there that should be on there is social media. Somebody's put social media down on there, so great, well spotted. So you've got your tactics, okay, and we'll talk a little bit about those later on. Now it's important to measure, how many leads you're getting from each of those. So you can see as we move across the tactical marketing plan, we have two columns, plan and actual. I'm going to come to the plan in a minute, because at least a lot of people, or most people, will measure where their leads are coming from, but very few businesses actually plan their leads, and this is where I'm going to show you the power of a tactical marketing plan. So it's important to measure, because measuring gives you historic data. It tells you what's working. So, but if you have a plan of where your leads are going to come from, you are likely then to take the action to make those leads happen. Okay, so Rachel, for example, you mentioned strategic partners. Now on the tactical marketing plan example that we have here, we have a plan of 4 leads from strategic partners. So if I have a plan of 4 leads, the question I've got to ask myself is, what activity am I going to do to make those strategic partner leads come in? How am I going to nurture those strategic partners? So it might be that you decide that for the month of January that you're going to get these 4 leads, so I'm actually going to direct call these people and have a coffee and a chat with them, just to make sure that they know what I'm doing, just to remind them, because you might have set these partners up but then they've forgotten about you. They're busy doing their business, they're busy working on their leads, and they're not really thinking about you. So you might decide that one of your activities to implement this tactic and to get these leads in is to have a coffee and a chat. It might be to have a newsletter that goes out specifically to partners. If you're doing Google advertising, then it's important that you actually book your next set of AdWords, or you might want to tweak your AdWords. If, for example, you'd set a plan of Google advertising of, because they're quite big numbers when you tend to do that, let's say you're going to get 20 leads, and I think your business is asbestos from memory, from the registration. I'm not quite sure. You might just drop me a note in the questions about that. But if you're using Google AdWords, etc., you might decide that if you had a target of 25 but your actual was only 10 for the month, that you might need to tweak your AdWords. So if you've got a plan, it's what activity you need to do. Is it working? But the power of this becomes when you look and you see what is working and what's not. Right, yeah, I thought it was asbestos management, thanks for that. London and Hertfordshire or Hampshire, yep, I do remember that. So you've got a plan of where you want the leads to come, and then when you measure it, when you look at next month, you'll see telemarketing do it yourself on there, 1 and 1. So I had a plan of 1, I achieved 1. So if you felt that that worked well, then why not up the target next month and do more activity of the same? So set a higher target. If you had, for example, set networking at 6 and your actual would have been 1 or 2, then you've got to ask yourself the question, did I go to the right networking events? Is my sales message getting over my point? Am I asking for specific types of business or even actual businesses? Are there particular groups and sectors that you want to get into that you haven't asked for yet? So it might be that it's the wrong tactic, it might be that you've overestimated it, but it might also be that you need to tweak the way that you're working the tactic to get more leads in. So does that sort of show the power of how you can use the plan and the actual to make sure month by month that you're keeping yourself ahead of the game in generating leads? The most important thing is that you set yourself a target. So you'll see at the bottom of the tactical marketing plan, we use a profit equation to generate the number of leads, and I'm going to talk to you about that right at the end of today. That's your homework. But you'll see there's a required of 28. If you've got a required of 28 and you've only got a total plan of 24, then that's not enough. So the next month you've got to make it up. Okay, so you need to be beating the level of leads that you need. You need to be generating either the right number of leads or more than your target is, and then you certainly need to be achieving it. The other way you can use this tactical marketing plan, and I'll move on in a second, is that if you know that you have a seasonal business, and been in the construction industry myself for since 1984, being in the business that long, I know that there were seasonal variations. Christmas was always a quiet time. February and March were always going to pick up as people tried to spend their budgets. So I knew that I had to do more activity at certain times of the year. So you can't see it on the screenshot, but this plan goes across the whole year. I mean, at the moment I know that if I'm going to be away for a week or 2 weeks on holiday, I've got to generate more leads before I go, or more leads when I come back. So this is about laying out your activity and your tactics ahead of yourself and then measuring the actual against a plan. So hopefully that's being of some interest for you. So moving on, who you are is what you attract. One of the things with leads that I've always been a great advocate of is that it's very hard work to hunt leads and to go out there, and some of the tactics such as networking, etc., is about going out there and attracting leads, but it is who you are. Okay, and I know there's a few people on here that do this sort of personal profiling and mindset, etc., but I'm probably teaching you to suck eggs here, but who you are is who you attract, and quite often we forget that. Who we are is not just about a logo. Okay, these businesses that you see here on the right hand side have spent millions and millions and years and years and years. If you Google Apple and look at their first logo, it was atrocious, it was awful. It's taken them years and years and years and millions of dollars and pounds to get to this point. One of my favourites at the moment is actually Unilever. You don't realise how many products we actually use at Unilever, but it's not just about your logo. And these businesses haven't just built a brand on the logo, they've focused on other things. It's your purpose. Why do you do your business? Why do you get up in the morning? I've always loved helping people. It's what I've always done best. When I had the construction company, I took on an apprentice every year for 17 years. My passion, my purpose is to help other people. So what better profession to get into than business coaching, helping other businesses be successful, be profitable. So it's your purpose. And people know that, people see that, people, as you're hearing me talk about it, that's expressing my purpose. It's also about your values. It's about being perhaps transparent. It's about being honest. I've made some horrible mistakes in my business life, and I help other people avoid those mistakes because I've gone through them. I've had to close businesses down. I've had to lay people off and redundancy. It's about being honest. It's about being transparent. It's about being a good communicator. So what are your values? And it's I want you to start making some notes of what do you think is a gap. Do you think that people understand your purpose? Do you think that you have a set of values? If you don't have a set of values, then you need to. And if you have a set of values, then and your purpose, and you've got a bit of a brand, this is your identity. This is who you are. Okay, and this identity should go through your business like a stick of Blackpool rock, or stick of rock, as you can see there. It should go through your sales message. It should go through the people that you employ when you're employing people and you're profiling them. Profile them against your values. Is this somebody who is an honest person? Is this somebody who's hard working? Is this somebody who's committed? People have to buy into the resource partners that you have, your supply chain, your business manager at your bank. Do they believe in my purpose? Are they aligned to my values? Do they buy into my identity? Okay, so what I'd like you to do is I'd like to just have a think about the purpose in particular. Okay, and I want you to think about your purpose and just have 10 or 15 seconds and just write down some words that come to mind when you think about your purpose, like helping others. Is it about advertising, shouting messages for your clients if you're in PRs? I know a couple of you are that's on the call. Is it about making other people successful, making other people money? So just write a few words down that express your purpose. Your purpose is what makes you get up in the morning and jump on webinars at 8 a.m. probably after you've already done some work and done your social media stuff. And please, again, what I want you to do, if you feel comfortable, is in the question box type in your purpose. And if we get a couple of good purposes, I might just take one or two of you off of mute just to share that purpose with us. So just a few words that talk about why you do the business that you're in. What makes you sacrifice time, money. Okay, we've got one that's just come up there. So keeping people safe and reducing fear. Now that's a very interesting one, and probably going to take you off mute for that one, because I think that's really, that's quite evoking, really. It's quite emotional. Reducing fear, definitely. So that's great. Anybody else got a purpose that they want to share with us? I know, Sam, you've been on a couple of our webinars before. I don't know if you want to share a purpose with us. Okay, so I'm just going to take, and I'm sorry if I pronounce the name wrong, I'm not quite sure if it's Jan or Jan, but I'm just going to take you off mute if that's okay. So I don't know if you've got a facility to talk, if you've got a microphone, but we'll give this a try. So I'm just going to unmute you now. So you're unmuted. Are you able to talk if you've got a microphone? Yes, you have. I can hear you fine. Yeah. Good morning. Yes, we're fine, thanks. So just explain what you mean by that purpose and the sort of the passion behind that, because I'm really intrigued that somebody who has a type of business that most people would struggle to understand the purpose, that you've got such a strong purpose there. Yep. Great. Okay. And do you think that this purpose forms part of your identity and that you share that well enough with other people? No. Yeah. And most people don't, and I think that's the thing. The thing I found in particularly in my construction business, the garden centre and the hot tubs were easy, but in the construction business, most of us hide our identity under a bush, and we don't think it's important. But over in 17 years, we attracted client after client after client, and if you get this identity right and you communicate it, then it becomes a magnet, because that's what people actually want. And so thanks for that. I really appreciate you sharing that, and it's really interesting that you've got such a strong purpose there. And I certainly suggest, if you only take one thing from this webinar, it's communicating that to as many people as you can, because it really will attract the business that you're looking for. So thanks so much for that. I'm just going to mute you back up, just bear with me a second, but thank you. Yep, thank you, Sam. You're obviously listening to me. You've got quite a few on here. So generating more revenue, leaving a legacy for family. Yeah, a couple of people have actually put on that there, that the purpose of the business is to provide passive income or a legacy for family. Quite a few of you on here I know are into the sort of consultancy, mentoring, coaching type business, and you're talking about helping and teaching entrepreneurs, helping others, educating others. So some really good identities and some good purpose. So yeah, again, as we're just saying in that few moments ago, it's important that when you have your identity, you check that it goes for everything. Is it in your email marketing? Is it in your website? Is it in your presentation when you sit in front of clients? Now, do you get it out when you go networking? So it's really important to have this identity. The other thing that helps you attract leads, and I'm conscious of time, is getting into your customer's shoes. You've got to understand your customer. If you're not understanding what your customer's needs are and what's in it for them, many of us, when we have a sales pitch, we talk about who we are and what we do. But you've got to understand what your customers want. You need to put yourself in their shoes, understand what their triggers are, what their emotions are around what it is. And as we just mentioned, if people fear asbestos and the effects that it has, then you've got to put yourself in their shoes and think, okay, what kind of fear do they have? How can I communicate that we reduce that fear? How can I look at their other frustrations and their other worries that they have? So put yourself in the customer's shoes. Okay, really important to do that. And I'm going to send you a worksheet out for the people who have attended this, which is called a hot buttons worksheet, and it has fears and frustrations of your customer on one side and their wants and aspirations on the other. And normally people will do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. So when you're communicating with your customers, put yourself in their shoes and show that you understand their needs, their frustrations, their worries, as we've just talked about, but also some of their wants and aspirations. Okay, so getting your customers' shoes, really, really important. What makes you stand out is the other thing. You need something clear that makes you stand out from other businesses, other people that are out there. Two things that we use to make us stand out, for example, and again I want you to, as I'm talking now, get a piece of paper. Some people call this unique selling proposition, your USP. Keeping it simple, what makes you stand out? I want you to get a piece of paper and just write down a few things that makes you stand out ahead of your competitors, ahead of the market. And while you're doing that, I'll just explain two that I have. One is the fact that most people that are involved in business coaching tend to have come from corporate life with very little experience or no experience of actually managing and running small, medium-sized businesses, and that's the area I work in. And one of the things that makes me stand out is over 20 years experience of actually running a wide range of companies and having a business that the busier it got, the bigger it got, the more time and the more money that I had, because I used a formula, and that formula comes from years of experience, not from something that has been purchased off a shelf. So that's one thing that makes me stand out. The other thing that makes me stand out, which we're going to talk about in a couple of slides, is a guarantee. I guarantee to deliver results, defined results. So if I guarantee to increase somebody's profit from a £50,000 loss to a £100,000 profit within 12 months, I coach for free if we don't achieve it. So potentially it could be 12 months worth of coaching for free if we don't achieve the results. So they're the two things that make me stand out. And we're going to talk about a little bit in a moment about guarantees. So what makes you stand out? So on a piece of paper, just write down, because I want you to refer back to these notes after this webinar's finished, but what makes you stand out in the crowd? So hopefully you've written a couple of things down there, or at least one thing that makes you stand out. One of the most significant things that can make you stand out, as I've just explained with my business, do you have a guarantee? Now, when I say this in seminars, I can usually see eyebrows raising, because a lot of us don't believe that we can guarantee anything. I challenge you all that you have a guaranteed potential right in your business. You can guarantee to answer the phone with a smile. You can guarantee a product. You can guarantee a level of service. You can guarantee a response rate. You can guarantee a lack of downtime if you're a web designer and you're hosting people's websites. Guarantees are really important in converting leads, but very important. The stronger that you say what your guarantee is in your sales message, again, you will attract leads to you, so it will generate leads. People use guarantees to convert, and we're not going to talk about that in that section, and it's really important when you're in front of a prospect. But you should be communicating your guarantee on your website beforehand. If you communicate your guarantee well enough, then what you actually do is you lower the risk of buying from you by increasing the reward. Okay, and that's the power of a guarantee. If you can guarantee some kind of results, any kind of guarantee, you're automatically lowering that risk of moving further through the buying process with you. So if you communicate that guarantee very early on in your sales message, on your website, in the emails that you send out, then you automatically will start attracting and increasing the leads. The other thing that all this is doing is that it's actually improving the quality of your leads, because if you've got a clear identity, you're not only going to attract the right people into your business, the right resources, but you're also going to attract the right kind of customers. If people understand your identity, if people see that you understand their needs because you've got in their shoes, you've got something that stands out, you've got a guarantee, then people will start to be attracted to you, but they'll be the right people who will value what you do, that will pay you on time, which is always a bit of a grind with me and a few of my businesses, but most importantly, they will be customers that will stick with you for the long term. So very important to have a guarantee. And when I talk through the next slide, what I want you to do again on a piece of paper is just write down your guarantee. Now, do you have a guarantee and something that you think you can guarantee, and type it in the questions box. I'd like a couple of you just to share the guarantees that you have or that you think you should have in your business as we talk through the next slide. So what guarantees do you have? I want to talk about the next slide while you're having a think about that. We all know that we hate getting on the phone. I do in particular. That's why I use a telemarketing company over in Canada. They're based in Toronto. If you've ever spoken to them, that's why they have a slightly American accent. They are Canadian. But nobody enjoys making the calls. Nobody enjoys picking up the phone. But it will be one of the most effective ways of getting leads into your business. And they don't have to be cold calls. It could be follow-up. A lot of us go to networking events, we get a pack of cards, and then we just don't do the follow-up. And that's such a shame. So we need to make the calls, and with a mindset around how many no's you have to get to a yes. You've got to go in, you've got to get the dials done, you've got to make the calls. Okay, so just a slide to challenge you there, that we're all in the same boat. None of us like making calls, but at the end of the day, that's one of the most effective pieces of the tactical marketing plan that we went through early on. Telemarketing, either outsourcing or you're doing it yourself, is really important. So hopefully you've thought of guarantees, you've thought about at least one that you could use in your business if you're not using one already. So what I'd like you to do in the question box, nobody's typed a guarantee in, so that's probably something that you're struggling with, so I want you to take that away and have a think about that. But can you just type in, put a V in front of it and a space, what's been most valuable so far while I get a quick glass of water. So what's been most valuable so far? The other two steps that we're going to go through are a little bit shorter than this one. I've spent quite a bit of time on this one because getting the leads in is the first step in the marketing process, so it's really important that you get this under your belt first. But what's been most valuable so far, just type a V in the question box and then type in what's been most valuable for you, so you can just share that with us if you would please. Okay, so we've got a couple of people put in here identity, the game of golf, pushing through the 9 holes. Okay, so just a couple of you typing in things that have been valuable so far. If you've not typed it in the box, then please write something down on a piece of paper at this point. What's been the single most valuable thing for you from what we've talked about so far? So we're going to move on to strategy 2 or step 2, and this is about improving your conversion. So this is getting the people who are leads, who have expressed an interest through your process to the point where they buy either your services or products. And again, this is about mindset. If you're going to convert people, there are certain things, and Sam, you mentioned this in one of the questions that you put there, it's about confidence. You've got to have the right mindset for conversion. So we're just going to go through a few things here that will help you during the conversion process. When you're dealing with your leads, in whatever stage it is, whether it's in a proposal, whether it's in a meeting, a presentation that you're having with them, whether it's picking up the phone to somebody who you met at a networking event yesterday, it's important that you're prepared. If you just go in and just pick up the phone and make the call, the likelihood is that the conversion rate is going to be lower than what it could have been. You might think it's still quite good, but it could be better if you were prepared. You need to manage your negative inner thoughts, particularly when you're on the phone. Well, what if they don't want to speak to me? What if they can't remember me? People have this real fear and frustration with using the phone, so you've got to manage those negative thoughts and think about more positive things. If you're going to make 10 calls and you know that for every 8 that you make you're going to get 2 yeses and 8 no's, then the more no's you get, the closer you are to the yes. So manage those thoughts, visualize it. This is a little bit woolly and a little bit fluffy, but it does work. When you're making the calls, when you're making that presentation, when you're sat outside in the car before you go into that customer, see the customer buying from you, see the deal is done. Make sure you're prepared. Get your thoughts into a more positive sense and visualize the deal being done, the sale being concluded, the handshake of the order. Okay, you might want to have a bit of an affirmation, something that you say to yourself in the car. This is going to be a great order for me to have in the bag. This presentation is going to go exceptionally well. So have some affirmations in there for you. And again, in other webinars we talk more about that, but affirmations are really quite uncomfortable to do, but very important. Act as if. When I used to sell the hot tubs, and sometimes I used to go onto the sales pitch myself, you've got to almost talk to the customer as though they've bought it. So what colour is going to fit better in your garden? Whereabouts, is it going to be up against the shed, or is it going to be against the garage that you're going to have the hot tub? Talk to them, act as if it's already done. When we start working together, when you're in one of our coaching programs, act as if. Really important. and do things to build your confidence. Listen to some good emotional music on your way to a presentation. Listen to an audiobook perhaps, but do things that build your confidence. Don't surround yourself with people 5 minutes before you do go into a presentation who are negative. And be prepared to fail. Understand that this is a process of getting no, but then ultimately will be a yes. If you know your figures, I'm not very keen on this last one. Probably 50% of me says I don't like the word fail, but I think what you have got to realise is that certainly as you're doing some of the process, salespeople understand that a no just gets them closer to the yes. So that's what I mean by that preparation for the no's, so that you know you're going to get the yes. The other thing to get conversion is you've got to have activity. If you make contact with people once and they say great, love to have a call from you, you call and then you just leave a voicemail because they're not available, that one single thing is not going to convert them that well. You've got to have a series of activities. So you've got to set a calendar of your contact with them. So if you leave a voicemail, don't be frightened of saying, sorry I've missed your call today, I spoke to you yesterday and you said to give you a call, but what I will do is, I know you're busy, I'll give you a call on Thursday. Set the next activity, set the scene, but make sure you've got some kind of contact. I have a series of emails that go out, so if I have an appointment with somebody, I send them out an email confirmation, I send them out a worksheet to fill in before I meet them for the very first time, so we get the best out of the free session that we hold. It's having that activity with your prospects, with your leads. Have you sent them a copy of your latest e-news? Have you sent them a list of testimonials? Have activity with them. It's really important to get that will build up that confidence that they have in you of seeing you as somebody that's a go-to person. So what I want you to think about is, what activities do you really need in your business to keep a lead hot and warm in the sales process? So do you think you could send them a follow-up email? Do you think you could schedule a next call with them? Do you think you could send them some testimonials? What kind of things, just as we've been talking there, do you think that you could do? So again, on a piece of paper and a pen, just write down some activities, because this will really improve your conversion, having that contact with them. It's not going to be overwhelming, but you need some activity between getting the lead and securing the deal. So what kind of activity would you have? So just list a couple of things down there. Okay, so hopefully you've written a couple of things down there. What I will do is, for each of you who are on here, I'm going to send you not just the slides for this, I'm going to send you a recording of this, so that you can actually, if you get to any of these points where you think I'm not giving you enough time to write things down, you can hit the pause button or the stop button on the video, and you can actually then just take some time and write down a full list of the activities, etc., that we've talked about. So don't worry about it. We're going through things quite quickly this morning. This is the idea of the webinar, is to get your thought processes going. But as I've been talking here, what I've realised is that a recording of this would be really useful, so I'll make sure I get that over to you. The next slide is about ability. Okay, if you're going to convert people, you need some good conversion skills. There are lots of courses out there. Don't be frightened of going on courses. Even if you think you are pretty good at it, hone those skills, sharpen that saw. I was listening to an audio book the other day, and it was talking about the proportion of time that you should spend sharpening your saw before you cut the tree down. And the guy who's been cutting the tree down for hours, and the guy goes up to him and says, "Oh, how long have you been doing this?" "Oh, hours. It's just taking me forever." And the guy said, "When did you last sharpen your saw?" And he said, "I haven't got time to sharpen my saw. I'm too busy cutting the tree down." It's about honing those skills, listening to audiobooks, reading books, attending courses, find webinars, find seminars. Get your skills and abilities to the next level to improve your conversion. Activity and skill will be the two most important things to improve your conversion rates. Okay, getting the quality leads will also improve your conversion rate because it will be easier people to work with, but you still need to make sure you've got activity and you've got the ability. So just looking at some conversion strategies, as we've said, continually grow your knowledge. Just a bit of summary here then. So continually grow your knowledge. Listen and understand your customers' needs. When you're dealing with your customers, when you're communicating with the prospects during presentations, etc., don't just think about the hot buttons, the fears and frustrations in your sales material, but listen to your customers when you're talking to them. Listen to your prospects and understand what their needs are. If you show understanding, they will give you a real credibility with solving their problems and meeting their needs. Use effective language. Don't use acronyms. Don't use language that they don't understand. If you need to keep it simple, do so. If you need to use language which is more their industry specific, then do so. Don't patronize them by being too simple, but make sure you get your language at the right level and that it's effective. Influencing tactics. If you go on our blog, there are lots and lots of things on there, and I think Rachel from Firecracker is on this webinar this morning. She did a great blog on influencing. We were at the Lincolnshire Business Club the other night, and a guy gave a presentation. I know, Rachel, you followed that up with an email. I think you've done a blog on it. If you can type in the questions, just let me know the address for the blog. I will gladly share it with the people that are on the call. But you need to influence people to convert people. You need to really guide them, show them that this is a good decision that's for their benefit, and use some of those influencing tactics that are in there. So Rachel, if you do type in your blog details or how they can get that article, that would be great. You've got to think about objections. If you're going into a sales presentation or you're making a call, have a list of questions that they're likely to have, objections that they're likely to give you. I can't afford it, I don't have the time. They're the two that I tend to find most. So have an answer prepared for that. Think about the objections and handle those objections by being prepared and having the silver bullets, as I call them, to answer those objections. If you don't have a sales process or sales system, then you need one. You need to know that when you have a lead, what steps do you then take to get them through to the purchasing? When they have purchased something, what do you then do? Because normally when a customer buys, they have remorse. They have what is called buyer's remorse. So how do you get over that? What do you send them to make them feel better about the decision that they made? Do you thank them for the business? Do you offer them a level of service once they've bought from you that you've told them about all the way through, but then forget to tell them when they've actually purchased? So this is about having a very simple step-by-step. Send an email, send them a brochure, send some testimonials, meet the customer, send a proposal, get the order, send an order confirmation, say thank you. It's that kind of sales process, that kind of sales system. So make sure you have a sales system in place. And obviously that's something that we spend an awful lot of time working through our one-to-one coaching program and customers with. Okay. Yeah, Rachel's just said here that she's just about to publish the blog today, so let me just see on here if I can get this. If you go to www.firecracker- so a dash, a minus, whatever you want to call it, UK. So www.firecracker-uk.co.uk/blog. So I'm just going to cut and paste that in if I can, just so that you've all got it here. Hopefully I can do that. Just bear with me a second, it's not working very well. I will get that in at some point. Um, just bear with me, guys. Sorry about this. I just want to really make sure I get this. In here, and then we'll move quickly on. No, sorry, I can't type it in as we're going along, but I'll make sure I get that up at the end. Thanks, Rachel, for that. Right, okay, so develop a sales system. And the other thing is, get a decision. Yeah, there's nothing worse than coming away from a presentation or from a meeting or even a proposal, and people say to you, that's absolutely great, love what you've said, leave it with us and we'll get back to you. Yeah, try and make sure that you've got some kind of decision from them, or some kind of process where you're going to have that decision from them in the future. Yeah, a yes or a no is what you need, and maybe does none of you any good whatsoever. So try and get that there if you can. So again, just going to ask you what's been most valuable so far before we move on to the final step. So if you can just go through there and type in what's been most valuable out of the conversion part of what we have here. And if you type in there what's been most valuable so far, hopefully that'll give me a minute to be able to put this link in here for Rachel. Okay, so what's been most valuable so far? So just going through here. So the saw analogy, yep, really important. The conversion strategies, yep, and conversion skills, yeah. Can't emphasize enough. There's a great book out there which I recommend that you read or listen to. It's by Brian Tracy, and it's called The Art of Closing Sales. And it's a great book from a sales process. It talks you about going through sales meetings, proposals, etc. So that's a really good book to get through, and that's The Art of Closing Sales by Brian Tracy. Okay, so moving on to strategy 3, step 3. This is about increasing the amount that customers spend with you. Now, there's lots of different comparisons of this, and once you've got a client, some people find it really easy to get them to spend more. Some people find it quite difficult. Some businesses, such that there's one that I had, which was a garden centre, very easy to increase sales. And I'll share a couple of the strategies around that. For a few of you on the line, knowing the businesses that you're in, this is going to be quite a difficult one to get your head around, but hopefully there might be some thought-provoking things in there that will help you along the lines. One of the easiest things to do, let's move the slide on, one of the most easiest things to do to get people to spend more is increase your prices. And for a lot of us who are sort of service-based people, this is probably sometimes the only way of actually getting people to spend more. My prices have increased significantly. I'm still a lot cheaper than the franchises out there, such as Action, etc. Probably half the price because I'm not part of a franchise, but my prices have increased over the last 4 years, and are probably now double what they were when I first started. And some of that is because I think we have a perception of other people's view on price, and we undervalue the service that we've got, which is certainly where I was when I started out in this business. But also I think we're frightened of losing the business, and we go out there chasing it, and we think that price is the most important thing, and trust me, it's not. Price should be the last thing. And I know that's a topic of a totally different webinar, that I talk about price and the price model, but you've got to sell your product and your service well enough so that people expect to pay your price. When you go into Sainsbury's, Morrison's, Asda, you know you're going to pay more than Aldi, Lidl and Netto. If you go into Selfridges, Harvey Nicks, Harrods, Fortnum Mason, you know you're going to pay more than you are going to at Waitrose, Sainsbury's, because they've communicated the level of product and the level of service so that you expect to pay a higher price. So moving on, this is a pricing model that if we had a look and said your current margin is 35%, whether that be gross or net is up to you, but you've got current margin on there, 35%, and if you were to increase your prices by 10%, so looking down at 35%, if you were to increase your prices looking horizontally across by 10% at a 35% margin, you could afford to lose 22% of your business without affecting your gross profit. Okay, so I'm just going to say that again. If you've got a margin of 35% on your product and you increased your prices by 10%, you could lose up to 22% of your custom and still not reduce your gross profit. So if you increased your prices by 10% and you lost 10% of your customers, then you are going to be making more money because you've increased your prices at the same margin. Okay, I'll just let that sink in. Because normally the customers that you lose very often are the customers who don't value what you provide. They're the ones that treat you the worst, they're the ones that don't pay you on time, etc. So you could lose 22% of your customers. So just a bit of a illustration there to show you that you can increase your prices without losing customers. And as it says there, you can easily increase your margins, and we're not talking about increasing your prices and adding, doubling them up or anything like that. Just a 10%. So if you're charging, let's say £100, just charging £110 for the product that you have. So just let you ponder that one for a minute. The other most important thing when you're trying to get people to spend more is deliver what you promise. If you're not delivering exceptional customer service, then you are never going to get a customer to spend more with you. They're not going to return and spend more with you, and they're not going to consistently keep spending money with you unless you deliver what you promise. Don't think I need to say much more than that. I think we all understand that. You've got to hit the bullseye every time and make sure you deliver customer service, or you give them a really good explanation of why and you promise to put it right. But you're already on a slippery slope. Deliver what you promise. The other thing is, if you've got new customers, okay, that's you can get them to spend more. But the easiest thing to do is go back to your existing customers. Look at perhaps customers who haven't bought from you for a while. Okay, you're more likely to get 1 in 3 of them to buy more from you. If you've got active clients who aren't buying from you now, you've got a 1 in 2 chance, a 50% chance of getting them to spend more with you. So focus on the active people, focus on the people who are buying from you now and get them to spend more with you. It's okay having offers, but I mean, and mobile phone companies, etc., are terrible for this, where they only reward new customers. Look at people who have already buying from you. Try and get them to spend more with you. And that comes from Harry Mills' book, The Rainmaker's Toolkit. So sell more to existing customers, but concentrate on the active ones. So how can we sell more to our customers? We can cross-sell. Okay, McDonald's are particularly good at this, where they will try and get you to buy things in a bundle. So they will try and get you, for example, instead of just having a burger and a coffee, why not have it as a meal, where you pay more for the meal, but you feel because you're buying it as a bundle and you're getting fries with it, you're getting it for a better price. So you can cross-sell. One of the things we used to at the garden centre that a guy taught me a long while ago, we used to have a massive display of pots, and he said, where's your compost? And the compost, and you have a look at other garden centres, was the other end of the garden centre. And he said, if you put your compost beside the pots, the glazed pot for terracotta pots, you can then cross-sell, because people will buy the compost with the pots, or people will buy the pots with the compost. So try and think what you can cross-sell. Some people on the call have items where if you buy a report, you get some free training, or you get some training with it for an added value price. So cross-sell. It's not about giving stuff away for free. And sorry, I nearly slipped up there. It's about uplifting the amount that people are buying with you by putting products together. So cross-sell. The other thing then to do is looking at upselling. Okay, can you get people to buy larger? If you sell something such as I'm just trying to think here of an example. Again, fast food people are the best for doing this. Do you want to go large with that? Would you like a large soda rather than a small soda? But it's upselling. It's trying to get people to buy bigger, buy one or two of the same product. So can you actually get people to buy two get one free? That kind of upselling. If they don't really want free, they don't want the larger version of it, but they see it as better value by doing that. And I know there's a couple of retailers on here, so think about upselling. How can you get people to spend more? Do you want to buy a bigger screen for that laptop? Rather than have a 13-inch, do you want a 15-inch? How can you get upselling happening? Loyalty schemes. Whether you love or hate Starbucks, I love their coffee personally. I've got a Starbucks card. I buy more coffee because I've got one of their loyalty cards. So think about any loyalty schemes that you can have where people get rewarded from buying more from you. So people want to complete that card and get their free coffee. People want to get that voucher from you. At the garden centre we used to have a loyalty card, and then on people's birthday we would send them the amount of value that they'd built up. So to get £5–10 on their birthday inside a birthday card because they've purchased from us was what it was all about. But you've got to tell people what the loyalty scheme gives them. So have a think about loyalty schemes. The most important thing is the way you will sell more to your customers is to shout out to them what's new. I used to have this as a common problem of mine, that I would go into a customer and I would be going to, let's say, price a drainage, work for Johnson Controls in Burton-on-Trent, and I would be in reception waiting to be picked up by the plant manager, and I'd be seeing somebody decorating the reception, and I'd say to them, how come we didn't get a chance to do this? Oh, I didn't realise you did decorating. So don't be frightened. If you've got something that's new, if you've got a new product, if you've got a new offer, you've got to shout it out loud. Tell everybody about it. Use everything on your tactical marketing plan to tell prospects about your products, but don't forget to shout out to your customers. Send them an email, ring them up. Didn't want you to miss out. Tell your customers what's new and what's on offer. The other thing you need to do, and I think this probably applies to 75% of the people on the call today, is that you need to educate your customers on what it is that you do. Don't forget to keep telling them about new technologies, new movements in the market. Educate them, give them good quality advice that will help them make a better decision and show you as the person that is the go-to supplier of that product or that service. Engage with them. One of the things I used to do in all my businesses when I was sort of not the retail business but all the other businesses, I would make sure that I went round all the customers twice a year myself as the sort of chairman of the company, managing director of the company, and I would sit down and ask them what they wanted. What are you looking for? How are we performing? Engage with your people. Promote what you're doing to them by engaging with them. Meet them, talk to them, pick up the phone. A lot of them have forgotten that you're there. Do not let a competitor who is more active go in and engage with your customers. And promote yourself. Promote what you do. Tell people about your website. Don't be frightened of showing people that you have achieved certain awards, that your staff have been trained. Promote your business, promote the type of feeling that you have that there's a benefit in it for them. Okay, so educate and promote. So that moves us out of the last step, which leaves us about 10 minutes for questions and answers. But before we move on to that, and just a conclusion, thinking about getting people to spend more, what's been the most valuable thing so far on getting people to spend more money with you? And I know for quite a few of them on the call that's a difficult one to do, but what's been most valuable from that? So again, if you just go into the question box and just type in there, put a V in front of it if you can, just so I know it's value, and let's just have a look and see what's been most valuable so far. You'll hear me typing, so I'm just going to put that link in now. I've worked out how to do it. So this is for the blog on influencing, so I'm just going to send you this link across now. Hopefully, Rachel, I've spelt it right. I think I have from what you've just typed in, firecracker-uk.co.uk. So what's been most valuable so far? So increasing sales per customers, okay. I did think some of you would struggle a little bit with this one, which is why I've whipped through it so quick. But if you take one thing from this section, it's about looking at opportunities to upsell and cross-sell, but communicating with people, telling people, keep reminding people. In my experience, we don't tell existing customers enough about what's new, what we're doing, what's happening. We don't tell them about the training that our staff have been doing, particularly in the sort of a service industry. If we're providing something that has a legal requirement such as asbestos, health and safety, etc., what new legislation's coming in. Educate people, promote people, engage with people. Can't emphasize that enough. Start talking to people. Educating what I do. Time to listen to the process. Okay, great. So just going to sort of draw to a conclusion, then go through any questions that you might have. I'll just go back to the screen. We talked about the profit equation right at the beginning, and this is where we're going to get onto your homework. So we looked at the 5 things that are important for you to increase your net profit. So leads, conversion, revenue per customer, gross margin and fixed costs, and we focused on the top 3 this morning. Just a quick example there of a business who generate 500 leads per year. They have a 20% conversion rate, and they have an average spend of £500. Couple that with a gross margin of 56%, fixed cost of 50,000 gives them a 48,000 net profit. If they increase each of these by 10%, and hopefully I've shown you how you can do more than 10% with these top 3, but if you increase each of those by 10%, the change, as you'll see there, conversion rate 20 to 22%, not 20 to 30%, increasing it by 10%, 20 to 22%. If you can just increase each of those by 10%, it's a bit like the game of golf, it's a compounding, it's an increase to 80,695, and as if by magic, that's an increase of 68%. So I'm convinced if you work with some of the tactics and some of the strategies that we've talked about this morning around lead generation, you've got to get the leads in at the top of the funnel, otherwise none of the others work. You've then got to convert them, which is the next important step, and then you've got to get them to spend a certain amount of money with you. Fixed costs, gross margin are immaterial if you don't get those first 3 right. Okay, and that's why I focused on those 3 this morning. I'm sure with the strategies you've got this morning that you can increase your leads generated, your conversion rate and your revenue per customer by more than 10%, and you only need to add an extra 20% across those 3 to get a 68% increase in the profits, as I've shown you there. To help you do that, this is your homework, as well as perhaps watching the recording. and making some more notes, I'm going to email you through a profit equation worksheet. And what I want you to do is, as you look at the sheet here, you'll see that those 5 things are in bold and in black there. And I want you to look at where you are now. So pick a time period. So pick a period of a month, a year, and I want you to look and say, okay, how many leads did I generate? What is my current conversion rate? You need to know these figures. Don't guess them. Look and see. If you can't work them out, then you're in trouble and you need to speak to me a bit further. But you need to know how many leads you're generating, what your conversion rate is, what your revenue per customer is. Okay, and then I want you to look forward and think, okay, using the tactics, using the strategies, what could they be in the future? Okay, so let's say you've got a lead generated in a month of 50. You've got that at the moment. Let's say your future, you want to stick an extra 25 leads on that. In the box at the side of that, to the very far right hand side, there's a box and it says here, leads generated. And what I want you to do is write down the tactics that you're going to use in the far right boxes. So you've got to measure where you are. I want you to look at the improvements that you think you can have in the numbers on the future as you're working from left to right, and then look at the tactics that you can use in that lead generated box, the conversion rate and the revenue per customer. Focus on the top 3. You can go further down it if you like, but I'm going to send you this sheet so you can fill it in and have some clear tactics and strategies for each of these 3 things: lead generated, conversion rate, revenue per customer, in each of those boxes. So it's important to remember that business is a roller coaster. Now, it's not a smooth ride by any stretch of imagination, but if you remember that success formula, it's about sowing the seeds. It's about taking the action and doing it consistently, because if you nurture the strategies and you are persistent and determined, then you will achieve the success that you want. I'd be silly if I didn't include this slide in here, but you can try and do this on your own and get a handle on it. But of course, if you do want to speak to me about one of our coaching programs, you can contact me at any time. You've got the website down at the bottom there. Have a look. This isn't a sales pitch in any strong sense, but if you do think you want some help with any strategies we've talked about, please either stay on the line, put something in the question box, say speak to me afterwards, and I'll stay on the line a little bit longer at the end and have a chat with any of you about any of our coaching programs. So, has anybody got any questions? I know we're just about running out of time. We've got about 3 or 4 minutes left at the end. So if you've got a question that you'd like to ask, I'm probably going to take you off mute or cover it if we can. So please type in Q, just so I know now where we are. Type in Q and a question that you would like to ask. Look through your notes. If there's anything that you'd like to ask from what we've spoken about, or any other business matter, actually, now's the time to do it, as long as you're happy for it to be shared with everybody else and on the recording as well. So just type Q and type in your question, and we'll see if any of you have got anything that you want to say. So any questions? I'm just going to remind you about the bonus there. Any questions? So type Q in there in the questions box. Gone very quiet now on me. Nobody got any questions that they want to ask? Right, okay, I'm just going to give you a quick poll now, if I can work out how to do this. I want you to answer these 3 questions. Of which of these strategies do you want to get more from? So we're going to look at the 3 strategies, and I just want to get an idea from the people on the call which of these is the most important for you to do some work on. So you should now have a poll in front of you. So if you can just select which of those strategies are the most important to you. So there's a couple of you voting there, so just hit the button. You don't need to fill anything in, you just need to select which of the strategies is the most important for you. And then we'll go back to the questions if anybody's got any. Again, if you are thinking of questions, you probably lost the ability to type that in at the moment. Okay, so everybody's clicked. Thanks very much. We've got a full bag on that. So 75% of you want more leads. Good. I'm really pleased about that, because I hope you realise that's where a lot of the focus of today's webinar was. Even though we covered all 3 strategies, that was quite important. And we've got 25% of you on the call who want to convert more leads to sales. So that gives me a good idea, because this will help me in future webinars to see where the topic is going there. So I'm going to close the poll there and just give you the opportunity of going back to the questions. So again, please, have a look at that in the question box. Type any questions that you have in there. Don't forget, I'm going to send you a copy of the recording and also the hot buttons worksheet, and I'll give you access to the ebook version of that. I know a couple of you on there are waiting for hard copies, who I meet one-to-one at networking events. I will carry some more around with me, but hopefully you found that of some value. I can't see anybody type any questions in there. If anybody does want me to hang on the line after the webinar has finished to talk about any programs of coaching, then just type that in the question box as well. Just put stay on the line there and I'll make sure that I do. So it doesn't look like we've got any questions. Hopefully we've gone through them. It's been a very interactive session today. Really glad that you've been able to share your values of what you found valuable from the seminar and the content. It's good to know that you've taken some good things away. The most important thing is you think about what we said right at the beginning. You take the content that you have here, you look through your notes, you go through the recording, and you take some immediate action, either on your getting more leads, converting more leads, or getting people to spend more. So for those of you who are on, we've just about finished on time. Thanks very much. We'll draw it to a close there. I'll hold the line open just for a couple of minutes if anybody wants to ask me any private questions or wants to have a chat with me afterwards. But as far as the webinar goes, thanks so much for attending, and I hope to see you at some future event, either online or at one of the seminars that's coming up. And you'll have noticed the sterling-coaching.com events link is at the bottom of all the slides. Go onto that web page and we've got a few events that are coming up. Be successful. Thanks for attending. Take care. Bye bye.